And then that's when I realized, I don't really love this. I don't have a
Yeah.
love for it. So it's like now what I do now as a snowboard instructor, it's a blessing to be able to say I get paid to do what I love.
What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Reggie Chapman. Welcome to the Culture Path Experience. And today we are headed to the slopes to talk to Booker T. Rhodes the fourth. We call him Booker. You can find him on social media at Book Sosa. Booker, thank you so much for coming on the show, man. How are you?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing pretty well today. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm not as good as you. I wish I was living out in Lake Tahoe, just enjoying the vibes, man. I mean, I'm sure right now the weather isn't too shabby.
It's not too bad, it's a little warm for mountain standards, but hey, you can't be mad at a bluebird day, right?
I'm saying, man, I am saying, just for the people who don't know you, man, give me a little bit of a breakdown. Who are you? What are some of your interests? I know you're a big snowboarder. Because when you go on your
Yeah.
Instagram, it's clear. You're also a certified snowboard instructor. How did you
Yes,
kind of
sir.
get into it, and why has it become kind of your passion?
So, like you said, my name is Booker Rhodes. I'm actually from Florida, South Florida to be
Wow.
exact, and I've been snowboarding for what I wanna say about 19 years. Um, I really just got into it, I was blessed to have the parents that I did. They provided me opportunities outside of that normal, uh cultural standard, but definitely it was just mainly on vacations and stuff. Growing up in Florida, it's like spring break, winter break. I don't want to go anywhere else tropical. I get that year round. Oh, as a family, me and my two god brothers, we actually grew up snowboarding together. So our families put together some money, got hotels, timeshares, and stuff like that, and introduced that to us. So it was nice to also not grow up alone doing it. I had some family who was really close that was doing it with me. And yeah, that was pretty much it. And the way I got this job, blessings, it's like I was sitting at home. I was still in Florida. I just decided I need a change in my life. Went on to Vail Resorts and added myself to their mailing list. And one day I got a message for uh uncertified snowboard instructing position, and I didn't even know they hired uncertified instructors. So I was a
I was
little
about to
bit
say,
ecstatic. Yeah, so it's pretty cool though because what they do is they will train you up from zero experience in teaching. Do have to have some snowboarding ability, they test you on that as well. But yeah, I threw my lot in. I put a little cover letter on top of it saying how I was from Florida. Yeah, that I have a passion for snowboarding. I wanted to share that, I teach kids, so I'd share that with the up and coming youth and really just expand the sport and opportunities for kids. And yeah, I got hired, and a month later, I was out of Florida. I was gone, never looked back.
that is crazy, man. Like, I mean, because I'm sure, like you said, I think one of the more interesting parts you said is like it's tropical there all the time in Florida, right? And so like you're
Yes,
like, I
sir.
just want to do something different. There can't be that many people that are from Florida that are doing your job, right? I mean, what is it about wanting
Yeah.
to be in the snow and being in the cold that is kind of attracted you to it? Like when you think about those trips that you used to take as a kid,
Mhm.
what was it that made you think, yeah, this is what I want to really what I want to do?
I don't know, it's weird, the snow never really bothered me, but I'm also very, broad on what things that I like, It's like I don't just stick to one thing. Oh, as I was growing up, I played a lot of sports. I played most of the Americanized ones, So I was like really just getting the opportunities to try different things and find out what I really love. I started skiing at 3 years old. So, and that was my parents. My parents grew or loved to ski even before they had me. My mom likes to tell me a story how before she even knew she was pregnant with me, she was on the mountain and it was pretty much blizzard, like zero visibility, super windy, snowing really hard. And yeah, they were stuck on the side of a black diamond by accident, which is like, advanced level stuff for
Yes.
skiing and snowboarding. But they finally got down to the bottom, and a week later, my mom found out she was pregnant with me. So I think that might play a little contribution in there. It was like even before at the very beginning, I was there on the mountain.
You're born to do this.
So might be able to say that.
That is
But yeah, on
unbelievable.
top of that, it's like I didn't really I've always loved the cold weather, where people are saying, "Oh, it's freezing, it's freezing." I'm like, "Oh, it's pretty nice." And I still catch flack for that every now and then when I go back to Florida and hang out with some friends in the winter. It'd be like 60 degrees outside at night. They're all bundled up and I'm just in shorts and a t-shirt. But what can you do?
My gosh. Okay, well, so that's cool. So then your family has that connection to the slopes already, growing up, and they're like, "We gotta bring you to it." That's similar to how it kinda was for
Yes,
me,
sir.
right? My parents, used to live in Colorado, and while they were there, they loved to snowboard, and then we moved when I was born, we used to
Yep.
go every spring to get out there, you know what I mean?
Nice.
Just to go see what's going on at Lake Tahoe.
Heck yeah, dude.
I don't remember my first times, but I remember, but I figured for you, do you remember your first times going out there to the mountains and, that feeling or maybe even the first moment where you felt like, "Oh, I get it now, like, this is why I
Mhm.
love this and why I wanna keep coming back."
Um, honest So I know I said I started when I was 3 years old for skiing. Um, you know, that young, I don't really remember, but like
Right.
as I got older, it was like a thing of, oh, we're going to the mountain this year. And I would be like, okay, cool. How can I do what am I doing? Am I skiing? Am I snowboarding? So at 7, I actually picked up snowboarding. Um, I actually learned here at Heavenly Mountain where I work, so it's kinda like a full circle thing for me, but, yeah, I just remember first time falling face in the snow for real on the snowboard, hurt a little bit, but I was like, "Oh, I think I could get used to this," and just immediately fell in love with it, and once I started snowboarding, it was more every trip, it was just, "Hey, can I snowboard more days than I ski?" And my mom would always be like, "No, you gotta ski. You gotta know the rules, blah, blah, blah." Taking lessons. Yeah, I just wanted to get out and go, but she was like, "No, you'll at least take 2 days of lessons, and one has to be skiing, and then the rest of the time, we could just go ahead and go out." But it was something that I picked up pretty quickly, surprisingly, but and it's just weird, like there's so many different skill gaps for the snow sports. Some people pick it up in a day, some people it might take 3 days. But it was just one of those things where every day I was learning something new and progressing, and that sense of progression is just what made me fall in love with it.
Man, did you have any background skateboarding or anything, or, what was it that drew you to snowboarding?
When I was little, a little bit, I had a skateboard. I wouldn't say I was a skateboarder,
Right.
no real like tricks and stuff, just messing around with friends. Before I actually got into snowboarding, I had a ripstick, and
Yep,
that
me
I
too.
love the ripstick. I love that free flow feeling, and then when I tried snowboarding, it was all she wrote. Oh my gosh. It's almost similar, and even to this day, I ask kids, I'm like, "Hey, do you know what a ripstick is? Have you ever rode a ripstick?" Sometimes they'll look at me like, "Oh, coach, you're old." But it's okay, I'm like, that ripstick really did I think it was a good solid foundation for getting into snowboarding.
You know, it's funny, you mentioned the ripstick that that it makes it way more sense now that I was able to pick it up as quick as I did too,
Yep,
man. That ripstick was a whole lot of fun.
definitely. Going swiveling back and forth, it plays into parts of, like, some of our movement mechanics and snowboarding and stuff like that.
Oh, that's unbelievable, man. You mentioned your parents, taking you to do things that, uh, for lack of a better way of saying it, a lot of people that look like us don't do. As we try
Exactly.
to get more and more people to get into outdoor adventure sports, and that's the whole point of this show and Culture Path in general is to get more people to look like us to do stuff that we like to do. What are some of the other things that they had you doing that I guess, kind of opened your mind to the possibilities of this? And also, naturally, there's going to be some people that you'll probably hear say, "Hey, like we don't do that," or "It's different," or
Yep.
that's usually for
Hear it
white
a
people.
lot.
Like exactly. Like, how did you kind of deal with those things? And when you continue to push forward, how cool is being able to show them like, yo, this is something that you can do.
Definitely, it stems from, being young and just playing at all different sports, getting to try new things. You never really know what you're gonna love to do if you don't try other things. So it's like stuff like that. Growing up, one of my best childhood best friends, he played hockey. And we all the time we would go to the ice rink. I would play we on open rinks, we'd go play hockey with other people from around the area. And, that was really where it really started, is n if you look at the NHL today, there aren't too many people who look
No,
like us,
no, no.
would love to see more, but it's one of those things, and then really just falling in love with stuff out of the norm. I learned how to surf in Hawaii, was lucky enough to take a trip out there one year, and we were island hopping, and every chance I got onto that surfboard. I was terrible at it, but it's one of those things where it's like, hey, try something new. You never know what you might like. So I've done a lot of that stuff. My my first high school that I went to before I transferred, it was predominantly white. It was a Catholic school. And, just hanging out and making friends there, you get introduced to a different, almost like a different world. It's not too different, but different interests and stuff like
I
that.
understand.
So I really got into country music. And so that's
Really?
another one of those. Yeah. And I get asked about it all the time. You see I have a camo hat and stuff. And like just getting to experience different things, like hunting. That was a big one. That I really enjoyed that. um, but eat what you kill. So it's like one
Right.
of those things. It's not just going out and messing up the environment. But yeah, so so I have a little controversial things from the culture, but yeah, I definitely it's just being my own person is a big factor in it. I tried so many different things that once I fell in love with something, I knew it was really gonna be the thing for me to do because it's like I played football from when I was 5 all the way up through high school, and I just gave it up at one point. It was also concussions, but at the same time, there was years where I took breaks and stuff, and it was just like I don't really want to play. I don't really care to play. And then that's when I realized, I don't really love this. I don't have a love for it. So it's like now what I do now as a snowboard instructor, it's a blessing to be able to say I get paid to do what I love.
I'm curious also the fact that you have to you're working with children and people trying something new, and there has to be a level of patience that I'm sure that you have to have trying to work with some kids. You hear a lot of times that people that are really good at things, for example, like Michael Jordan, probably not going to be a good coach. It's just because they can't find a way to
Mhm,
communicate an idea in a way that they
definitely.
understand. For you, what has been the most difficult part of trying to transition to becoming an instructor? And what's your favorite aspect of doing that job?
Definitely, like you said, it come you need patience, but I definitely didn't have patience, or I wasn't the most patient person to say when I first started. But Heavenly's really good about training up their instructors. You don't go into any of the situations unprepared. So, starting out as an uncertified instructor, they first thing they taught us was how to teach a first time lesson, and then you move up from there. So it's like I definitely learned patience. Not every kid's the same. Sometimes you might have a kid with a disability. Sometimes you have kids who are rowdy. Some kids who are less well behaved and stuff like that. So really, just being able to diagnose what does this kid need from me to succeed is a question that I ask myself every day. So it's like, yeah, sometimes it could get frustrating. You could teach a kid the same thing all day and they still don't get it, but being able to take a breath, take a step back and be like, "Hey, I was there at one point too," you know? Some kids learn at different rates, and just being able to understand that has really made it a lot easier in my position. Um, but yeah, pretty much just just always understanding, you're teaching people regardless of their age. I've taught adults who don't progress as fast as some kids I've taught, but that's okay, it's something new.
Right. Is there been the most rewarding moment for you in all of your teaching? Is there a moment that happens all the time, or has there been a spot where you're like, "Wow, that was awesome. This is exactly why I do this."
But really, just when a kid's been trying something out for however long and it finally clicks and they get that and they're like, "Coach, did you see that?" And that's really fulfilling there, it's like seeing them be able to smile after they were going through facing adversity. It's like, it's part of life, that's part of growing up. But the fact that they didn't give up and they continue to try every time they fall, that's the rewarding thing. And is when a kid also says, "Coach, you really it was a great day with you. I had fun. I want to come back." That's another thing. It shows that I made an impact on that child's life. And yeah, rewarding to share my passions.
I love it, man, and it seems like you share it online as well between, having, of course, your Instagram account, TikTok, you built a YouTube channel that you're building up as well. Why is it important for you to kinda showcase what you have going on in, Book Sosa's game of life?
Yeah, I just want to share, with not only people who look like us, but people who might be going through different hardships than we face. It's like you have the opportunities to be able to do whatever you want. Don't sit there and think that you don't. Like you just got to be able to put the work in. And as like I am building my social media up currently, it's like not everything reaches an audience that I want it to reach and stuff like that, but I just can't give up on that. So I've been trying to stay really persistent with uploading and streaming and doing stuff like that just to, get uncomfortable again, because like I said, I've been doing this for a couple years now and I do feel comfortable doing it, but I really do like that feeling of uncomfortable. It keeps me going, keeps me driven and stuff like that.
There are moments, and you mentioned it earlier, the constant pursuit of progressing in something that you're continuing to learn every time you go out on the slopes. Do you still find yourself pushing yourself on the slopes trying to, I guess, try something or get a little crazy? And do you ever see if you ever find that line where you realize like, it's maybe that's where I got to slow down.
Definitely, it's like when it comes to my writing, I'm always thinking while I'm writing, it's like the feelings that I'm feeling while I'm on the snow. Currently I do have my level 1 snowboard instructor certification in the US, but there's also, it goes up all the way to a level 3. So currently this season I've been just working on a lot of my movement and movement analysis to prepare for that level 2 exam. Um
What does
it's
that look like, by the way? The for how does one level up? Is it like what kind of test is it?
Okay, yeah, so you would have to go into it's a organization for skiers, it's PSIA, for snowboarders, it's ASI.
Hmm.
Um, with that, they have a set of standards and things like that. Heavenly's really good with their if you're an instructor, you're provided training courses and stuff like that as well. So, my first season, I actually got my level 1 right away. Doing courses, it's mainly focused on riding ability. So, like being able to do what's either carved turns, skidded turns, riding switch, there's a little bit of park stuff in there, but it's pretty basic, straight air jump. Um, what else? Be able to ride a box. So it's very minimal on that level 1 end, but you also have to be able to teach a progression. So what you get is you get a topic for something that someone wants to learn, right? So let's say uh build a progression for making S turns, right? So you have to start with a static movement, then add different different fundamentals to it. So, going from static to movement and then to doing the actual thing. But now where the step up is going to be this level 2, where instead of just one exam, it breaks it up into two. So
Mm.
first I have to take my ride exam. So that's going to be they're going to do movement analysis on me to make sure I'm capable of doing what is required for that. So, add it, it's more complicated on like the wording and stuff, whereas like you're adding movements. So where they want you to do uh a small radius carve turn with three fundamentals or something like that, So that's where it's the step up, and you're getting more into that movement analysis side of things. Where if, say, I'm teaching and a kid is too far back on their stance, being able to see that, recognize that, and adjust that for the kid's success. And then after that, it's a teach portion, and just again, like progressions, how you could get a kid from one spot to another, down the line.
Gotcha. Okay. Were you mostly self taught then? Or did you
No,
actually,
I,
well, you
I
you said
actually,
you did the classes, but did is it
yep.
is I guess now at this point, are you taking class, or is it just you're just progressing by yourself by pushing yourself when you get a chance to ride alone?
Yeah, definitely. I'm never really the chill guy on the mountain, especially if I'm not working. When I'm working, I have the responsibilities of looking out for the kid and upholding the standard. I try to do that as well when I'm off the clock, but it's a little bit more fun. I don't have to slow down my riding to make sure, the kids are behind me and stuff like that. Never lost a kid, and knock on wood that I never do. But yeah, going back to your previous question with like, have I ever felt where I have to slow it down? Yeah, definitely. I could get to some pretty decent speeds on my snowboard and recognizing, maybe it's not the safest thing to do right now when it's busy. And then also, I ride a lot of parks. So, getting into when you lock down that trick, there's only one route. You go bigger. And I've been humbled a couple times, it's like I've been flipping, but at the same time I recognize like this is my job, so I can't really afford to get hurt. But yeah, I push myself when I can. I try to spin more, go bigger on the jumps and stuff like that. There's always something that I can learn, whether like I can ride rails, but I wouldn't say I'm proficient at riding rails. That's somewhere where I could get better and learn new tricks and stuff. But, jumps, they only get bigger. I don't plan on, reaching the X Games. I love it, but, doing it at that level, shoot, some of them guys like, what is a 2160? Like how many rotations is
Gosh.
that? And yeah, so tricks are just getting bigger. Yeah, know your it's definitely good to know your limits. You don't want to oversend it and hurt yourself. But if you're willing to push yourself, trust me, it's really rewarding. There's times where I'll go down that double black. We have a mountain called Kirkwood. It's really, really, really nice mountain. I've dropped some cornices and cliffs through there, and it's still scary till this day. But if you're committed and you're willing to try and push yourself, once you get it, it's all the worth it.
Do you have a moment where you look back and you're like, "Yeah, that fall, I will not be trying that again," or where there was some real fear involved? Take me to a moment where you like, because I feel like I interview a lot of athletes, and it's like you ask like, "Oh, what's your welcome to the NFL moment?" Right? Like,
Yep.
what was your moment where you were like, "Yeah, I might overdone it."
I want to say this had to be in like 2019, maybe 2020, right before COVID or so. But I was in Breckenridge with my dad and my sister, and this is maybe like my fifth season, like getting into park, but the progression's slow, when you're only doing vacations. But yeah, I was in the park for the day, and it was really slow on the snow, so it was like sticky and stuff like that. And I just kept hitting this jump, and every time I would hit this jump, I would case the knuckle and bounce over it. So
Yeah.
there was one time, I felt confident. I was like, "Hey, all right, I could go faster." So I went, no speed check, and oversent the landing, cased it straight to flat, concussion, the whole nine. Yeah, and I had to
No
sit
way.
there, and I was like, "Huh, let's not do that again." It's very rare that I don't speed check jumps now, unless like now I really know, like I know the mountain like it's the back of my hand. I When I'm spending that much time in it, you learn, and with the conditions and different things like that, you learn how to adapt to it. Especially that's something I learned through my certifications is like being able to gauge the speed and stuff like that on features. But yeah, oversent it and flipped over onto my head. I was out for what, a week or so on bed rest. Pretty severe concussion. Yeah, that's so I learned my lesson.
But you got back up.
Yes,
Why?
sir. Had to get back out of there. My parents never raised me to be a quitter. And especially my faith. God doesn't want me to quit on myself. He's not going to quit on me. So what am I doing? Get back up and keep going.
Yeah. I think my last question before we go here is, what does the future look like for you? What are you trying to do next, and where do you see this career taking you in life?
Yeah, so I'm just like I said, I'm looking at getting that next level in my certification. Might even get a ski certification here, but I'm still on the edge about that. I much prefer snowboarding. And then currently, like I said, I'm building up my social media, looking to build a brand for myself. Eventually my the goal is to work for myself in doing that. So I'm just learning a bunch of different things. I'm planning on going back to school. I'm going to pick up a little bit into the business marketing side of things as well. Um, and then I've also been modeling a little bit on the side.
Okay.
Some local clothing brands in the area, they've been having me model some of their clothes for them. So yeah, like I said, I'm always doing a bunch of different things. Yeah, it's just basically my main priority right now. I'm building up my social media. I've been streaming here and there, like
Yeah.
about three
What
days a
what is I would
week.
say, what does a stream look like for you? What are you streaming?
Mainly I'm just streaming video games and
What do you
like
play?
snowboarding videos and stuff. Like do a little reactions here and there. Just mainly my time off. Getting a peek into my life.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate you giving us some time to peek into your life here in this interview. Do you have any
Thank
advice
you.
to anybody that's looking to try and get into what you do, whether it's just snowboarding or skiing, or becoming a snowboarding instructor and really taking this to become a real career?
Yeah, don't be discouraged. Sometimes it's a very niche thing. Not a lot of people are into it. Um, your number one thing you're gonna have to do is just find a mountain that you like. Honestly, if you don't like the mountain and you just go there just to do it, you're probably not gonna like it. That was my biggest thing. I came to Heavenly because I visited here and I learned here, and I just fell in love with this town. You get the mountain in the winter, lake in the summer. Um, but yeah, and also don't let people tell you that if you look like us, don't let them tell you that you can't do it or that's not for you. That's for other demographics and stuff like that. You very much so can. You have every opportunity to do whatever you want to do. Um, just find something that you love. If you're looking to get into snowboarding, save up a little bit of money. Be whether you're gonna drive or you're gonna fly. Plan out these expenses ahead of time because it can get a little expensive at times. Where it's like, oh, am I gonna go this many times a year? Where you might think of getting a season pass versus a day pass because let me tell you, heavenly day passes could get up to $250 per day, and it's a little, it's rough. It's rough,
Yeah,
and
that
then
makes
you
sense.
also have to account in for your rentals and stuff like that if you don't own your own equipment. So yeah,
Hmm.
definitely just make a plan, whether it's a plan for snowboarding or plan for life, you always got to set it out in front of you, like write it down, always read it, and stuff like that. I always remember my goals best by writing them down, whether it's 2 times, 100 times, so be it. Um, and if you're a little kid, especially getting into it, don't be discouraged. If you are at taking a lesson or you are trying to teach yourself, don't get discouraged. You're gonna fall a lot. You might if you're skiing, you fall a little bit less. But if you're snowboarding, be prepared to fall. Learn how to laugh at yourself. Not in a bad way, just like, haha, I fell. Okay, get back up, keep going. If you could just go into it with that mindset that you're gonna be bad at it. The saying is skiing's easier to learn, where snowboarding's easier to master. Once you get the basics, you'll take it and run with it. And I promise you, you'll fall in love with it just like I have.
The man speaks like an instructor. A breakdown here to end our show. Booker, thank you so much for the time, man. You guys can follow him
Thank you.
on Instagram at Book Sosa. He also has his TikTok and his YouTube and all of his links to get to his social media channels as well. Booker, before we go, anything lastly that you want to tell people? Where can they find you? And what can they expect?
Yeah, so mainly I'm just basically on Instagram and TikTok at the moment. I have started setting up my my YouTube and stuff, like YouTube and Twitch. Twitch for gaming. I've been streaming on TikTok. You kind of get I'm chilling on the stream most of the time. Just come in, have a good conversation with me. Yeah, besides that, hopefully I could see some of you guys on the mountain. It'd be pretty cool. Come up, say hi. I'm always willing to have a chat, give you some tips.
And thank you guys so much for watching our show. This is the Culture Path Experience. We're going to try and bring you more and more episodes like this where we're talking to interesting people like Booker, helping bring more people that look like us to outdoor adventure sports. Thank you, Booker.
Thank you. Have a good one, guys.